So today I'm talking about a Hyundai with the P0130 code, what it is and how you go about fixing it. So what is a P0130 code? Well, it's an O2 sensor circuit malfunction bank 1 sensor 1. And what does this mean? Well, the onboard computer uses oxygen sensors located on the exhaust to know how much oxygen's been burnt off after combustion, and it's seen a problem with one of these, so it's going to have to be troubleshooted, know why. And some of the possible causes of this, well, it could be a bad sensor, it could be in the wiring, and possibly a blown fuse. And so the first thing to do when you get this code is to go locate bank 1 sensor 1 oxygen sensor. And there can be some differences on how many oxygen sensors there are and things like this, but bank 1 is always going to be the side of the engine with the number 1 cylinder. So if you have a V6, you want to find the number 1 cylinder, and that side of the engine is going to be bank 1. If you have a 4-cylinder, then it won't matter. There'll only be one bank. And then the first sensor going down on the exhaust is going to be bank 1 sensor 1. And so, for example, here's a 2015 Sonata, and the oxygen sensor is right here. It's up against the firewall coming down on the exhaust. It's going to be located right there. And it's always a good idea to go get a diagram for your particular Hyundai. Since there can be some differences, it's really going to depend on the year and the engine type and things like this. So, for example, here's a 2003 Santa Fe, and as you can see, bank 1 sensor 1 is going to be right here. So, if possible, it's always a good idea to get a layout or a diagram of where all the sensors are located on your particular Hyundai. And the basics of what's going on with these oxygen sensors is that sensor 1 is going to be before the catalytic converter. It's also called the upstream. And sensor 2 is going to be after the catalytic converter. And it's also called the downstream oxygen sensor. And so bank 1 sensor 1 oxygen sensor is going to be called the upstream oxygen sensor. And so once you locate the sensor, the next thing to do is to check out all the wiring. Be sure that everything's plugged in good. There's no cuts, opens, or anything like this. And basically just keep in mind that if anything's wrong with the wiring, then it could cause the same symptoms as a bad sensor. So you want to check that out. Be sure it all looks good. Another thing to keep in mind is that it's going to be on a fuse. Inside the engine compartment, there's a fuse box, and there'll be a fuse inside of there for the oxygen sensors. And if that blows or anything goes wrong, then it could cause an issue. Inside of Hyundais, it's usually labeled sensor 1. As you can see right here, it says oxygen sensor upstream, oxygen sensor downstream, and it's located right here on this particular Hyundai, which is a 2014 Sonata. And so that's basically just something to keep in mind. And so if you've gone through and you check that all out, all the wiring looks good, there's no blowing fuses or anything like that, then very likely that sensor has just gone bad. There is ways you could test this if you wanted to. There's some good YouTube videos on that, but very likely at this point, this basically just needs to be replaced. One thing to keep in mind is that they do require a special tool sometimes, especially the sensor 1. Since they're located down inside of this indentation like this, you basically almost need that special tool to get them out. Of course, it can vary. Sometimes you won't, sometimes you do. But go and look at it because you may need this special tool to get around that wire and get it back into the slot that it's in. And so that's basically it. I just want to give a real quick brief overview of how you go about fixing a Hyundai with the P0130 code. If you have anything to add, please comment down below. If you have any questions, ask me and I'll try to answer them. If this video helps you, please click like, please click subscribe, and have a good day.